Hello, and welcome to the South Coast Artists Index, where artists, performers, and writers, as well as curators, directors, and supporters, anyone with ties to the creative community, drops by to introduce themselves to you. We'll talk about their beginnings, their vision, their passion, and so much more. The South Coast Artist Index podcast is brought to you in part by Heavenly Spirits, who invites you to celebrate the art of life and creative communities everywhere. Learn more at heavenlyspirits.com.
Hi, this is Ron Fortier with another episode of the South Coast Artist Index, and this time we're going back to the pandemic technology of the Zoom, just because sometimes it works out better that way. And of course, they've changed things, so we're scrambling here trying to get on the same page. But without further ado, I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves and spell their name.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Irwin. That's Irwin. I live in Tiverton. I am currently at the moment teaching at East Providence High School. I'm a special ed teaching assistant. I have a studio in Warren, Rhode Island at the Handkerchief Factory, if anybody knows where that is, where I teach art. I also have my own school, John Irwin Studios, where I teach art in the studio and at different other venues, different libraries. I work with senior citizens a lot. I work with special ed adults and kids a lot, autistic particularly. I've had a lot of different jobs and lives. I'm kind of new to teaching art. I've been painting for over 40 years, but I just recently started teaching probably 6 years ago, and I can say it's made me a much better artist. And it's one thing I've noticed about I do spend a lot of time teaching painting and modeling paintings instead of doing my own painting, so it has kind of cut down on the production, but that's not necessarily been a bad thing, where I've kind of learned to concentrate and one or two paintings at a time instead of thinking I got to do everything all at once. And but it has made me a better artist. I mean, people ask, when is it finished? I have to think about when is it finished, and how do I explain to somebody when a painting is finished, or where to begin, how to begin. It made me question my own techniques. And like I said, I've done a lot of different things. I was a truck driver. I was in construction. I was in property management for 18 years in Providence, but I've been living out in the woods in Tiverton for the last 13 years. And I grew up in East Providence, and I'm back at the same school that I graduated from in 1981 with teenagers. You might see a few of them wandering around here. I'm in the school right now, so I'm supposed to be in gym outside with a bunch of kids, but I'm up here, and I'm glad to be here with Ron. This has been a process of getting this nailed down. So
let me tell you, John, this is almost like a parallel story of my life. Yeah, and it's like that Forrest Gump line where he's sitting on that bench waiting for the bus, and he looks at the nurse's shoes and he says, "Those are nice shoes." And he says, "I've had lots of shoes." Well, I always use I've had lots of jobs.
Yeah. I have, and but there came a point about 7 or 8 years ago. I decided I started teaching a confirmation class at my local church, which I didn't want to do, and I ended up liking it right away. I felt very comfortable with the kids, and I did that for 4 years, and then I decided to go back to school, get my bachelor's from Providence College, and I kind of learned how to run a business and to be confident. And I learned a lot from the other professors, and I started teaching painting. I actually did some of my early classes at Jennifer Galuli's Heart Spot, which is literally across the street from East Providence High. Right here, I can see her place from here. And I started teaching a little bit over there, and then I got my studio in Warren. And having my own studio away from the house, having some room to paint and room to spread everything out, frame stuff, have a clean area, and then have a venue where people can come and actually buy stuff directly from me has been a huge difference in my art career. And it's kind of a getaway too. Sometimes I tell my students, I say, it's the painting it's not all about just grinding away, painting and painting. A lot of it's about looking and seeing and, kind of being brutally honest with yourself. Like, what is a good painting? If I have to put four paintings in a show, I might want these two to be in, but they don't fit. So I've learned how to kind of consolidate and cut out the bad stuff and keep the good stuff and kind of be brutally honest with myself. But having a studio outside of my house is what I never had till the last 6 or 7 years. It's been a huge difference. So I would definitely encourage anybody, if you can, to do it, even though, prices for studio space are high right now. So
Yeah. Prices of
I
studios are
struggle.
what prices of apartments used to be.
Yeah,
The
I
price.
struggle to pay the rent every month.
Yeah.
Not much now, but it went up. It's going up 25% since I moved in 5 years ago, and it went up 50 last year. And I'm waiting for the lease to come in June. And I almost moved to Fall River last year, but he kind of convinced me to stay. So hopefully I'll still be in Warren, but there's places in Fall River near the battleship. I know the owner of the mill over there, so I could move over there if I have to, but
Fall River's up and coming, and it's not.
yeah,
And what I mean by that is, it's always like that little bit of contention between the two cities. They are very, very, very different in so many different ways. The difference in the art communities is the Swain School. That the Fall River didn't have the Swain School of Design.
mm,
Bedford did, and that created a complete dynasty, I guess you want to call it.
New
Complete,
Bedford,
yeah.
yeah.
The Fall River just had the Fall River Art Association, which was a pretty state organization.
Yeah, I went to a show there a couple of weeks ago. My friend Dan had a little show there, and they wanted me to teach there. And my girlfriend said, "Oh, you ought to get in here." And I said, "This kind of isn't really my kind of a place. This is kind of not that anything bad about it, but the wall space is small. The dynamic of it was not really. I'm kind of beyond that at this point in my life, and more.
Are
I'm
you more
more.
like college level teaching in your painting? Do you teach drawing as well?
Well, I don't have a master's, so I can't
Right.
do that. I would love to teach at a college, but frankly, my own studio is going good right now, so I don't really have time to do anything else. I'd have to quit this job here. With the benefits are great, the pay is lousy, but the benefits are fantastic, and I feel very comfortable here right now. It is crazy, real crazy some days, but nah, I'm kind of pretty much settled in right now. The studio was doing really good. They did better during COVID. It kind of took off after COVID. I kind of got more students. I found that more people around to paint and have some kind of an outlet from being cooped up in the house, I guess. So I struggled. I had to separate my classes. I did some classes in the hallway. I split up my group on Thursday where I had five. I'd have two one day and two the next day. And I really learned a lot how to survive during COVID and build my business. And then it's kind of gotten to the point now, Ron, where like I have one gallery I'm in Providence all year round, Studio Hop, and I kind of am out of the game of looking for galleries to show in, and I kind of feel like the less I care about it, the less I try, the better I do as far as selling paintings. And I always say if you do good work, it will find its way out there. So I do a couple of shows a year with Judith Klein. I'm in a group show. I did a solo show at Winston Gallery up in Kilburn Mills last year. True Grit
With Vic,
Gallery, I had a
yeah, yeah,
solo True
yeah.
Grit, which turned out lousy, but I kind of get invited to some of these things now, and they just kind of pop up by networking and kind of getting doing the footwork and going out there and wandering around. But kind of just happy with my life, my artistic life right now is good. I'm not in that rat race anymore of sending out submissions and searching around. I'm pretty comfortable right now.
Yeah,
Really.
there's a whole thing to it. I mean, I don't know if it's maturity. I don't know if it's trial and error. I don't know if it's just experiences. But when I decided, I hadn't shown, I think, for 3 years, and I had a friend ask me to put in some work at Gallery X for the social justice show that he
Yeah.
was curating. It was David Wallaga, and he said, social justice. I mean, it's right up your alley with your work. It's like, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I said I wouldn't do it, for anybody else.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then another friend, actually a new friend, Max Wickamer, who's very active with Gallery X, asked me to put in something on polar opposites. which I really didn't have anything for, but I thought, okay, well, this is a friend, a new friend and such, he wants to make this successful. And I think
Yeah.
I'll challenge myself to do two pieces, brand new pieces. And
Yeah.
that's about it. And
You didn't you have we had a show at Lewis at Colo Colo before?
yeah,
Or
I
you?
had one a
Yeah.
few years back. I don't think I've had a show there for 10 years now.
Yeah, I had one about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, I had one just before I moved to Portugal. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when he was downstairs in Kilburn.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I've gotten a lot of good advice from Lewis. We have kind of have a love-hate relationship. Yeah, he's
well,
got a lot of good advice with me. Some of it I've taken, some of it, I've just discarded.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you
Some
know,
people just can't deal with his personality, and
yeah,
I owe him. And I've said this countless times. I owe him an incredible debt of gratitude.
me too. Me too.
He gave me
Yeah,
my real first shot in a real gallery.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and everything he said was right. But then I think he had some personal issues, and I'm just guessing because I mean, there was some ups and downs with his personality and such. Never against me,
right.
but he also has a kind of a brutal way of. It's like tough love, but it's like tough love with a
Yeah,
sledgehammer.
that's definitely what it is. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I go there sometimes. I haven't really talked to him in depth for a couple of years. It's like
Yeah,
I go there and get kind of a lecture. I kind of get aggravated with an argument, but then I come home and I'm thinking like a couple of days, like, oh, he's right about that.
yeah,
He has been
yeah.
right about a lot of things.
Right. I
One
mean,
of the things
go ahead. I'm
he
sorry.
wants me to work. I'm sorry. What he says, he goes, you work in a series. You work in a series. I said, yeah, I do. I do. He goes, but you need to control it. He goes, you should think of something, a house on the beach, do 20 paintings, and then stop, and then do anything else. And I'm like, well, I don't think like that. I said, you want to be a machine. I said, I'm not going to just stop. If I want to do a couple of them and then something else, he says, oh, you're all over the place. And I said, well, I guess that's the way my mind is. At
Yeah,
this point, at 62, I kind of do whatever I want, and it's work.
yeah.
I
No,
sell them out of the television. I
I
mean, I
understand.
sell
I
out
mean,
the
I
studio.
work serially, not I work well used to. Not as much as I did, but I worked serially not to create a series, but it was basically the same concept. It was like, well, what do you mean the same concept? They all look different. Well, no, it's the same,
Yeah,
like theme or something. But I'm just trying to
yeah,
find the right handle. I'm just trying to,
right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
and yeah, yeah, and then I've gotten into the socially conscious work.
Yeah, I was looking
And
at your work earlier today. I was looking around at some of your stuff because I remember seeing your stuff either with Judith Klein or with Lewis or somewhere else, and it was
also the
abstract.
abstract work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and that's how what the work I know of yours. So some of the stuff I saw today was stuff that I was unfamiliar with. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I have about 6 or 7 subjects that I do all the time. I've been painting the city of Providence, the skyline from the Veterans Parkway for 20 years, and it looks different in the winter, spring, summer, fall. I feel comfortable there. And another thing that happened during COVID is when the gas prices went up so high. I would tend to throw my paints in the truck and kind of wander looking for places to paint, and it got to be so expensive for gas. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just look around in my yard and find the small things like the flowers that are coming up and the sun setting behind the trees, the moon coming up. And that's what I did. And I continued to do,
yeah,
finding a whole world right around in my yard. And I'm in Tiverton, so I'm near the beach. I'm near South Shore. I'm near Little Compton. So there's a lot of things around there. And that's what I've kind of settled on doing right now. And I just don't care if people buy them or not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
people buy them.
the next big challenge is, I've mentioned this several times on the show, and I have this conversation with Don Wilkinson a lot. He writes for, Chasing
Yeah,
the
I
Mute
know
Club
him.
for,
He
yeah,
bought one of my paintings, I think, from Lewis.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like, when we go, whoever survives us, I mean, they've got the choice, either, like he says, make a bonfire with our work,
yeah. I
or,
think I need
or
to do that before I go. I do that sometimes. I
yeah,
hate to say
or
it,
or
but
the or the dumpster, because
Yeah.
there's just so much
Yeah.
work out there. There's so many of us, and there's so much
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. There's
something,
almost too many artists around here. There's almost too
yeah,
many artists around in what you call the South Coast, really.
right. You know,
But
another thing too, you're talking about wandering around, walking around and such. One of the things I noticed too, well, for example, you could drive the same route every morning for, years. And the moment you walk that same route, you start
yeah,
going, I've been by this, I mean, I've gone by this house
yeah,
for 10 years. I've
yeah,
never noticed it till today.
yeah, yeah,
And I thought, oh, this because, you're not paying attention to traffic and stuff like that.
right,
But then I noticed
right.
something interesting walking the dog the other day was there was construction. So instead of going, say, counterclockwise in our route, we went clockwise.
Different angle.
And it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
it's the same route. How come I
yeah.
never saw that house?
I noticed that too. It looks different coming back sometimes. And
Yeah,
for me, especially in the winter, I'm leaving the house at 5 a.m. in a complete pitch black in the
black,
woods.
yeah,
It's never, then I'm coming home. Usually I'm done with my other, between this and teaching. I usually teach a class 3 to 5 after
yeah,
school somewhere. So I'm coming home in the dark. So I'm in like complete darkness from like November until like February, March, April. And, but yeah, so I'm like in this twilight world here for months. And now it's beautiful today. It's 70 degrees, I think. But,
yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, it's funny because this morning I went out, because I get up at 5. I'm an
oh,
early riser, like year round. I would
yeah,
get up earlier, but it would, it disturbs my wife and our daughter. But
yeah.
I get up at 4:30 if you let me, because my
That's what I'm
I
up
wake up
every
with the
day.
chickens. Yeah, and
4:30. Yeah,
I'm the guy that wakes up the chickens. Kind of.
yeah. Me too.
And
Me
now I'm
too.
saying to myself, like, wow, it's getting lighter earlier.
Yeah.
So instead of doing all this other diddly stuff, I could actually stop painting in the morning,
It's
which is
light at
something I
6
would never
a.m.
do.
now. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. It's light at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
6 or
yeah,
6:30. It's
yeah,
late out. Yeah.
yeah. Or I could walk the dog earlier and get back. But one of the biggest problems is making the time for painting because I run the artist index with my friend Jeff. And we had a meeting yesterday about there's just too many things piling up on us both.
Mm.
That we've got to. I didn't want to get volunteers because I don't like people working for nothing because I work for nothing. I'm working
Yeah, I've
harder.
done that. I've been there, done that. Those days are
Yeah,
over. I've been in
I'm
co-op
working
gallery.
harder as retired than when I
Yeah.
was running my own advertising agency and stuff. But let
Yeah.
me ask
Yeah.
you about working with the autistic kids because I told you I worked at one time with People Incorporated in Fall River. My ex-wife's brother was a
Mm.
client. I
Yeah.
think that called them then because they've changed the names of the nomenclature a lot.
Hmm.
And some of the most profound moments I've ever had in my life has been in that community. You know, and with autism, I mean, I found out that a lot of my characteristics are because I just found out about a year or so ago I'm ADHD. Makes sense.
Yeah. I believe
And
I am too, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
some of those people, and we always refer to them as kids. They could be 50, 60, 70 years old. We always refer to them as kids for some reason. It wasn't a
Yeah.
demeaning thing. It was,
Yeah.
but um, I never, except for one case where this one client was, what's the word? He could name you every 45 record
Oh,
between
like a savant,
1950.
like a
Savant, yeah,
savant. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been in that population,
They're big
but
on
he,
sequences
yes,
and numbers. Yeah.
he could name
High functioning in math. Yeah.
every artist and 45 A side and B side,
Yeah.
50 to 65, and after 65, it's like it drops off a cliff, and it was absolutely amazing. And one of my goals was to get him working for WSAR, the radio. And
Yeah.
people looked at me like I was insane. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah.
I wish my stepmother had been alive because she was really really good. I mean, she had her own little 45 collection,
Yeah.
and so there is an interesting correlation there in creativity, which people don't always put together, but I've seen your paintings, and I'm wondering how much of your of your work has been inspired, influenced, or whatever by dealing with the population that you deal with.
Boy, that's good. I mean, I think they definitely have affected me. I mean, I've only been doing this about 5 or 6 years, and I do an art class in my room here about once a month, once every 3 weeks, and it's about 12 students and the staff, and I also do an adult special needs group at the recreation center across the street here, East Providence, once
Right.
a month. And one of the things they do is they don't have any hang-ups about anything. They're very free. They keep things very simple, very flat, very color oriented. There's not much form, but the way they rearrange things, and I look at some of the stuff and I said, if this was like 5 feet big, it'd be in a museum in New York City. I said, these are great. Like, but it has the way they simplify things. They don't have an ego. They're not, or some of them have a big ego. They think it's great. They look at mine and they'll go, I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And he's like, psh, but the way they simplify, the way they rearrange, like I model the painting. I'll have a painting. I did one. It was a copy of a Georgia O'Keeffe sun setting behind the hills, and it was a lot of red, yellow, and orange. And one kid had like the sun was like was gigantic. Another one there was no sun, but they rearranged like the sky is down here and the hills are up here. But yeah, that simplification and not having hang-ups about it, and I say like teaching adults is harder because we have these notions we've grown up with being taught. You never color outside the lines. This is the way we make an apple. This is the way we make a head. A body is 7 heads tall, and that group there, they don't have any of those hang-ups, no conception of what it is. It's just they're having fun. They want to get it done, and boom, there's less thinking involved. We overcomplicate things as we get older, And a lot of my adult students that are in their 50s, like I do like at the library in Barrington, I do once a month. I do a class there. It's free. And I'll get people, ex-teachers, and then they have to unlearn a lot of stuff. Like I never thought about doing it that way, but I have learned definitely from these kids, and just no hang-ups, no ego about you got to be this way. They're not careful at all. They just plunge right into it.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I being OCD as well,
yeah,
which
and
is
I'm that way too. I'm this. My girlfriend says, she goes, you work good with those kids because you're one of them. And I said, well, that's okay. But one of the things that's unfortunate about this community is in the public school world, they tend to de-emphasize art. They're not as much. They don't push it as much as they should. They're more into English, math, whatever. Usually not science, but English and math. The learning, reading, vocabulary. Where all these kids, if you did an art class with them, I do it for an hour once a month. These kids are silent. They're quiet. They're into it, and it's a little messy. It's all about controlling the materials, but they love it. They love it. And then they get to we'd have a little gallery in our room. We put them up there, but it's de-emphasized in the public school. They don't do enough with art. I had one boy I was with for a few years. I was a one-to-one. Never took an art class. Never. It was all academics. All math and English. So.
yeah, they don't consider it a core curriculum subject,
Oh,
which
there's
is
still a lot of those kind of old ways of thinking in the
yeah,
public schools. There really is. It's still a lot of art, big deal. It's fun. Even you must get this as an artist. Oh, it must be nice to have a hobby. Like a hobby, or they think you get the beret on, you're smoking a little cigarette, you're kind of
yeah,
drifting around, and like
yeah,
this is as hard work as anything else. Because you know what I'm doing in my studio? I'm crawling around on my hands and knees half the time. Or I'm
yeah,
up on a ladder on a chair trying to reach a painting, or I'm in there
right,
at 5 a.m. framing something, or
yeah,
putting wire. I didn't know I needed, hammer, nails, wire cutters, wire spools to be an artist, or staple gun. Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know I needed all that stuff. It's almost like being a kind of a carpenter sometimes, but
yeah. And
yeah,
that's why a bigger studio too. You need a big flat table, which
yeah,
I
yeah,
need more space, and
yeah. I could always use more space. Oh yeah,
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 yeah, and
yeah,
I'd love to be able to have two, maybe three easels going, only
yeah,
because you get hung up on something and you want to jump off. And before, when I was when I had it, when I was able, it was, even though it was in a big space, I had 2 easels set up. It was great because I could jump off and do something else. And then while I was doing that, then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, boom, you
Yeah.
just jump back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let me ask you a question, because there's a lot of parallels, and one of those questions is, well, let me give you the story. A bunch of us from the BFA class of '75, we've known each other for it's 50 years this year, and we get together quarterly. And I remember one of the first meetings I was able to make, and I was walking back to my car to get my stuff for the critique, because the critique was still very, very important to us. And I said to my friend John, and I said, John, working in advertising, so on and so forth, we're doing marketing, teaching marketing. At the end of the day, my brain is just like shriveled up. I just have no brain wave. I have no bodily strength left. I'm totally, flattened out. But I never stopped painting in my head. And I know people think it's crazy. He looked at me and said, "That's not stupid.
I know what you mean.
How do you think I survived? I've been painting them on my head for 30 years, in my head for 30 years.
Yeah.
We were trained to look. We were trained to see.
Yeah. I think about, sometimes I'll think about a painting that I'm working on and a particular problem with it. And as I'm driving in and work in the morning, and the good thing is my studio is on the way. So I'll be in there. It's not uncommon to be in there at 5:30 in the morning, touching up a piece for 15 minutes. And I'm dressed in my work clothes, my dress shirt and everything. And, yeah, no, it's an obsession. If you're not thinking about it 24 hours a day, and when you're sleeping and worried about finishing something or hitting a deadline or whatever, then that's a different kind of an artist than I am. It's kind of it is an obsession, but it waxes and wanes where I've learned to not force it. Like if I don't feel like painting, I might just draw for a few weeks, just sketch. I try different kinds of paper. I like sketch pads. I like mixed media paper. I like that Canson XL. I like that. I like the bond paper sometimes because I mix watercolor with it or acrylic. But sometimes I've learned to just not force it. But it is. It's I tell my students too. I said, listen, if you're going to take a class with me for 2 hours a month, you do 6 paintings a year. I said you're going to get that much skill out of it. I said I do 4 or 5 paintings a week just for my classes. So that's 200 paintings a year at least. That's not counting my own work. So you just get better at it by trying. But a lot of it is thinking and looking. I'm big on art history. I have a book around of art history. I'm a huge Picasso fan. Picasso, de Kooning, and Cezanne are the 3 artists that I kind of link together. There's a line from Cezanne to de Kooning, I think very clear. But I don't discount anybody. I like all kinds of art. The art I see nowadays, I tend to be a little too kind of realistic, a little too machine made. Some of them, like the portraiture,
Isn't that funny though?
very
Isn't that funny
dull,
because
lifeless.
we've got this abstract expressionism, but unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is poor stuff, and this is from people who are more hobbyist painters or whatever. They flooded the market with a lot of.
I see it on Instagram all the time. There's a guy showing how he did his painting, and I feel like it's commenting like, "Don't show them how you do it. Don't do that. I don't want anybody to see how I do it. I show them in a class when I do it, but they're like, well, how come mine doesn't look like yours?" I said, well, you didn't listen, number one.
Yeah.
And I said,
fingerprint's not the same either. Yeah.
I said, that's what we talked. So you try to copy a Picasso or a Matisse, and they're like, how come I can't get my backgrounds? I said, look at the backgrounds of Picasso, the space, all the things he's erased, and I said, that's why he's Picasso and we're not. They have a certain something that we don't have. But it's work just like anything else. A musician, Jimi Hendrix didn't be great by playing an hour a day. He slept with his guitar.
Well, one of my old instructors at SMU, Southeastern Massachusetts University, which is now University of Massachusetts Dartmouth. It still hurts to say it, but was Herb Cummings, and Herb Cummings says it's all perspiration. Your painting, your drawing, that's all perspiration. And I remember somebody in the class saying, "What do you mean by perspiration?" He says, "It's sweat." Yeah, but what do you
Yeah.
mean by sweat? He says, "Well, you lift weights. You work in a factory. You sweat. The
Yeah.
sweat is the result of the work.
Sweat equity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's a result of the work, and
Your arms should be hurting. You should have carpal tunnel. Your shoulders should be hurting. By the
oh,
time you,
that's when I teach drawing. I tell my students. In fact, I'm just putting together a proposal for an art center here. And I told the woman, the director, I said, basically a lot of, some students get me and some students don't. Some of them,
yeah,
they're
me
here for
too.
fun. And I'm not saying I'm a
Yeah.
taskmaster, like the old
Oh,
German,
yeah. Yeah.
instructors. But
Yeah.
I tell the students, if your shoulder doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
teaching you the right way to draw. I'm not teaching you
Yeah.
to draw. There's a difference.
Right. Right. Right.
There's a big, big
I
difference. The way
say I
you
can show
address
you
your
how I
easel, the
do
way
it.
you set up your paper.
Right, right. I say I can teach you how, if I have the paint, usually when I do a class out somewhere, I have, even in my studio, I have a painting that's finished, and I say, I'm going to show you how I did this painting. You
Mhm.
may have another way to do it. Sometimes they'll argue with me, and how come I'm doing that first? I said, I'm just telling you the way I did. If you got a better way to do it, go ahead. Then, an hour later, oh, how come? Oh, that's not mixing. I said, because I told you we're going to start this first. And so I said, you didn't listen.
Oh yeah,
I have
listening.
a lot of the same students too, especially particularly Tiverton Library and Barrington Library. I do, and these ladies, they've been with me, some of them for like 3 years, so they know me very well. I can goof around with them and everything. But in my group in my studio, I have 4 students every Thursday. They're all in their 50s to 70, and it becomes more of a social thing. I have the painting up, we start copying it, and 10 minutes later, they're not even. I said, it's like a social thing. They're making fun of me, they're goofing around. And like, just go, just do it, do what you want. I'm like, how come it's like that? I said, well, you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And basically, my thing was is like, listen to me. Don't think.
Not
Don't
that I'm
think.
a
Yeah.
pro at anything,
Oh yeah. Believe me. Yeah, yeah. It's. I don't know. Like you were mentioning about they don't put any stock in it in public schools, and it's true. I mean, it's about pattern recognition. It is about problem solving because, as you know, in art, the problem is
Yeah,
never solved because when you solve
right,
one portion of the problem, then another one
right.
pops up.
It is.
So
It's like
you
a puzzle.
constantly,
It is a puzzle. A painting is
yeah,
a puzzle.
it's
And,
a never-ending puzzle. And then you said about knowing when to stop. Well,
yeah,
you sometimes, I mean, you know, we've both been doing this long enough where I don't know about you, but I call it the voice in my head. It's like, yeah, this is the time to just put it down. And sometimes, it'll be sitting in the studio on the corner of my eye a month later or a couple of weeks later, whatever.
yeah.
I see something and go, oh,
I know.
damn,
Now I know. Yeah,
bang,
yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah,
Now
I
I
do
feel
that
happy.
years later. Years. Sometimes I'm
Yeah,
putting it in the frame. If it is a frame, and it's already framed, and I'm like turn it on, I'm like, oh, this can't go. Then I'm painting the background or something. Then it's getting on the edges of the frame. I got to take it out again. Like I have to deliver 3 or 4 down to Providence and to Studio Hop soon, and I don't have any wire for the for the back of them. So I've been kind of delayed. I have the painting. I just got to get in the studio, put the finishing touches on them. That's another good thing about having the tables. I can lay them on there, look at them in the clear light, and I can put the final finishing touches on it. Even when I think it's finished, once it's going out the door, sometimes even in a car, I'm driving over, I'm looking over, and I'm like, oh man, that can't go in like that, And so give me that one back. Just take these two. But
yeah.
yeah, you become a
It is
better,
a funny.
more of
It's
a
a
critic.
funny occupation. It's a funny profession. It's a funny skill. It's a funny. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
Great life. I tell these young kids in the school here that are budding artists. I said, listen, it's a great life. It has tremendous highs. It has crushing lows. But it's going to a gallery, going to a show. There's your work, and
Uh,
50 people come to see you, or you have another one and 2 people come to see you. Then you sell something. You feel like you're a millionaire. Then you don't sell nothing for a year.
yeah,
But
yeah. In
the
fact,
work,
a couple of us from the BFA group, we all have MFAs as well. we kept going. We're now, as we're getting older, and we haven't taken the train yet because it just came in, and they
Go
have
to
trouble with
Boston.
personnel.
Yeah.
They don't have enough people. But it's
Yeah.
like, let's just take the damn train to South Station and go to the ICA, go to the MFA, go to the Gardner,
Yeah.
because what the hell? I mean, and you need to Grace Slick said in White Rabbit, you need to feed your head.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah. I
feed
went to
your head.
Mass Mocha last year for the first time because Anselm Kiefer is my favorite artist, favorite living
Mm.
artist. And going up there and seeing that building that was all his work, it was better than I expected. I mean, my head was spinning when I got out of there, and the place is so great. It's so big. There's so much. We couldn't take it all in, and I'm like, we could easily spend the weekend here because there's places to eat. It's
Yeah,
easily accessible. And I was
yeah.
like, I got to come back here.
Almost like
But
an artist's weekend,
yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's so cool, so cool.
Last year, the year before, my friend Bob Berdisky and I, we went up to the MFA. We went there specifically for the Cy Twombly show because Cy Twombly's
Oh yeah,
always
I
been
like
like a
that.
ghost. People always compared my work to his, and it's a long, long story.
Oh yeah, I
I,
could see the resemblance for sure. Yeah.
I've told the story several times on podcasts, but we went there, and then and we're walking to that gallery in the MFA, and there's this other show going on by this Sir Frank Bowling Jr. And I'm like, who the hell is this? That's on the way. Oh my
Yeah,
God! We walked in
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and my first thing was thrown off was like, wow, these paintings, like you know, painters are like that. It was like we nearly wet ourselves. That's how
yeah, yeah,
wonderful these. I mean, the
yeah,
surface and everything like that.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's this video going, this low volume video of this old black man with a white beard, and I thought, what does the blues player got to do with the? And I'm trying to find it in the paintings, right?
Yeah.
That was the gentleman. That was Sir Frank Bowling Jr.,
Yeah, wow,
who was the
wow.
painter. He was already, I think he was in his late 80s. He's already in his 90s now.
Yeah,
Um, and
I
the
think
reason
it's
why he
gonna
had the
get.
video is because he couldn't come from England
Yeah,
because he wasn't feeling well.
yeah.
But
I think it's
Bob
gonna
and
get
I,
loud in here in a minute, Ron. I
oh,
think they're
okay.
gonna get tested. Oh, actually, 1:55. They're all
Oh,
gonna
okay.
come.
Yeah, we got a few minutes. Let's tie
Might
it
get
up.
loud.
So
Might get
anyway,
loud.
we're
Frank
as
Boland.
painters are, we're like really close and looking at the surface and stuff, and the guards are getting worried. And
Yeah,
well, wow.
I do that
How
too.
do you
I get
explain
up
that to
real close.
people? How do you explain that to somebody who's not an artist?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get up real close sometimes, and I can see them getting nervous, or I get really far away, or I like to sit. There's a place to sit. I'll sit there. Like RISD has the
Yeah.
big room there. I get to sit around and look. We took the kids there a few months ago. They had a blast. But
But
yeah,
the
it
same
is.
thing too. The same thing too, John, is well, I once, once upon a time, I was cooking professionally because
Hmm.
you go to art school, there's not a hell of a lot you can do, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was with this guy who was a master chef, and we had this ability to cook on our heads. We
Oh,
could
really?
we could say, okay, now add a pinch of this, and he'd go, oh,
Oh,
and so
wow. I
it was
never
like
thought of it that way.
conceptual cooking, you know,
Really, I never thought of that.
and that's what's missing. Everything is so black and white. Everything is all about the numbers. It's all about MCAS. It's all about,
Yeah,
and we've met some young people who are just dying to get their hands into some clay or get their hands dirty and make
yeah,
something, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. We
Well, I
have
know you
clay. We
guys
have.
got the class coming back. Any final words? Any words of
No, just
encouragement,
no,
discouragement?
well, like I say, I always tell to students and other artists that are just starting out is just do good work. Just keep doing the work. Don't listen to people that don't know what they're talking about. Just do the good work and don't worry about where it's going to go or what people are going to say about it. Do what's in your heart and what you want to do and produce a lot of it. Do everything, every
Yeah,
surface, every medium, and
yeah,
let the gallery put it together for you. Let them come in and I'll take 20 of those and 10 of them and don't be a machine. Don't be a
yeah.
machine.
Well, you've just stimulated a thought that I'm going to live by now. Surprise myself. Surprise yourself. Surprise
We
yourself.
gotta,
I mean, if you're gonna do the same old, you're never gonna get out of
Yeah,
that rut.
I can't. It drives me crazy. If I do too many landscapes, then I get sick of them. Then I just start doing abstract stuff and collages for a while. And then I got sick of them about 3 or 4 months ago when I had that show at Winston. That was my last time showing them. I'm like, you know what? I threw out a whole bunch of them, and I'm back to my regular landscapes and stuff. And right now, I'm kind of drawing, kind of in the middle. I'm waiting for the flowers to come out. So
Yeah.
that's
Hey,
a good ending. I'm waiting for the flowers to come out.
back to
That's a
our
good ending.
buddy Luis Villanueva from Colo Colo Gallery.
Oh, Lou, yeah.
Last year, he told me, "Why don't you just get a stack of canvas panels and start doing self portraits?" Well, I bought the damn canvas panels there, and I held on to them. I did 30 of them.
Yeah, wow.
Come down. I give myself a time limit, and you know what? I got to go see him. I really do have to go visit him.
That's it. He has the portrait show of the people looking the other way. He just had.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he's big on that. Get your canvases, choose your colors. Then you decide, what do I want to paint. You do 15 or 20, then you stop. You think. You get your surfaces first. Yeah.
In fact, see all these behind me? Those are all leftovers from his shows over the years.
Yeah.
He forced me to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, John, I know you got kids coming back into the classroom. I thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
It has been. Yeah, I'm glad it's worth the wait.
I mean, it seems like the gods were preventing us from meeting. At one point.
Boy, you ever around in Warren, come visit me in my studio. Where are you?
For sure. Yeah. Drop me a line or something sometime. Yeah.
Where are you? Are you in your house? Are you in a building or your studio?
I'm in a basement of our apartment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, in Fairhaven. We're living in Fairhaven now. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, right across the river, which is a whole nother world over here.
I'm ready for the studio in the woods in the backyard. I'm headed towards that.
Yeah, my thing was a studio at least 20 minutes walk away because the walk is good to get it ready.
The old guy with the home studio. That's the final thing for us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a basement. It's not bad. I can't complain. At least it's better than the kitchen table, right?
Yeah. All right.
Well, folks, if you joined us late, I've been speaking with John Irwin, artist extraordinaire, with a lot of healthy, a very healthy outlook on art, and it was a great conversation. So if you only came in halfway through, go back and listen to the whole thing. John, thanks so much. And folks, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Artist Index. And remember, take care of yourself and be kind to other people. Bye-bye.
To learn more about the South Coast Artist Index, visit theartistindex.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be the artist you believe you are, and let's take care of each other out there.